So BYD becomes the number one selling car brand in Singapore in 2024. Now you may think that this doesn't matter to the rest of the world, but I'm going to tell you why. Not only does it matter, it's a warning sign of what may be coming. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Car. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. So here's the news. The news is that BYD tops 2024 new car sales in Singapore. BYD, the electric car maker, and these are the numbers. You already see something very interesting. Look at the car makers that are coming number two, number three, number four. BYD is number one. Next comes Toyota, which is not too surprising, as Toyota is it's a mass car maker. But at number three, four, and five, you have BMW, Mercedes Benz, and Tesla, relatively premium car makers. So BYD is beating all of them. So why does this matter? Singapore is, of course, a first world country, much like. So why does this matter? Let me think about how I want to explain it to you. Singapore may seem far and exotic if you're not from Singapore, but it's very much a first world country. Yes, it does have Asian Chinese values at 70% Chinese, but it does have a lot of Western values as well. Recognition of Western traditional brands, the German brands, etc., is as high here as anywhere else. In fact, they are more regarded here than they would be maybe in their home countries. Then you may think that, okay, perhaps Singapore is doing something exceptional versus other countries to boost electric cars. That also is not the case. There is a small discount to buy electric cars. But if you look at the ongoing running cost of electric cars, and I have numbers here for you, let's just take something like comparing a comparable electric and a comparable petrol cars. Let's say a BMW 3 Series M340 and a Tesla Performance. On the BMW, ignoring the cost of the car, which is a different story, you pay 2,300 a year in road tax. On the Tesla, you pay 5,300. This is because the Tesla makes 500 horsepower. So they back calculate how much a petrol engine would be to create that much power, which is much more than 3 liters, which is in the case of the BMW. And then they add a surcharge for the loss of fuel revenue. So the point is, Singapore is not doing anything exceptional to promote electric cars beyond a small surcharge, which most countries are doing. So why is it that BYD has become number one? And the answer is very simply, it is providing a value proposition that is very difficult to beat. They have a few cars. They have the Atos, which is their small appliance SUV kind of a thing, which I don't really like. Then they have the Seal, which is slightly nicer. And then they have the luxury as well, Denza. And all of them are doing very well. Because what's happening is that BYD is completely shaken off the issues of quality or perceptions of quality that Chinese brands had to associate with. And when people are looking at the numbers, they are simply just going for the BYDs. So what does this demonstrate? It demonstrates that even very status conscious, even very brand conscious consumers, as you have in Singapore, one of the richest countries in the world, even status conscious consumers can shift to BYD. So when you think of the brands that have relied on their traditional status or brand value, such as BMW, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, I'm talking the Germans here, but also think the Japanese, think of Lexus, think of even mass brands that have a great name like Toyota. Even if you have a very, very strong brand equity, if the fundamental price value equation can be cracked by your competitor, people are going to shift. Then, I may not shift. I'm not going to ever want to drive electric vehicle as a petrol head. They're not exciting. They have their purposes. But for the majority of consumers, the car is exactly that. It's a consumer product. So if you have a value equation that is being met, doesn't matter that historically BYD never went racing or whatever it might be, or they have no Le Mans wins or whatever it might be. It simply doesn't matter to 99% of the consumers. There's also a general shift in consumers that is happening. The era of the crazy petrol head is also kind of winding down, or the new kind of petrol head is a different kind of petrol head. They're not really petrol heads anymore. They're probably touchscreen heads, is what you could say, where the features in the car are equated to the gadgets in the car versus how I would look at it in terms of the fundamentals, the specs. right? The power, the torque, how it handles. So the point of this video is not to alarm you. It is simple. It is to tell you that don't be complacent, don't take it for granted. And if you really do like your more traditional cars, like I do, vote with your wallet, right? I still own quite a few, or rather have owned and continue to own traditional cars that I like, a traditional BMW, a traditional Mercedes, so to speak, not because I am trying to support the German economy. It's just that I like what these brands, or rather, what these, forget the brand, the kind of products that these companies make and the brief that they prioritize, right? I like how they prioritize the driver in the case of BMW, certain levels of luxury and quality in the case of Mercedes. I like those things. Other cars don't do it for me. So I vote with my wallet, even if it may feel relatively more attractive to go for an electric car. So, yeah, that was really the purpose of this, just for folks to know, just for folks to be aware, and just for folks to keep an eye in terms of what is happening in their own market.